Morning, guys. How you going?
How you going, Ash?
Good, Ash.
Bit of lazy Saturday morning in the off season here. What do you want to do?
I don't know, man.
Would be my suggestion, but
What's that,
you guys
mate?
don't love it as much as I do.
Oh, Stoney, yeah, mate. I don't know. I'll just my back's playing up a bit. We got club champs tomorrow. I don't know. Look, I guess we haven't done a clubhouse in a while, so I don't know. Do you want to try and see if we can get an interview happening or something?
Yeah, let's get a big one.
Big one?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Eamsy's busy. I've already checked. Any ideas?
Yeah.
All right.
We've already done Eamsy.
All right, let's do this, guys. If you had like an Apex Mountain top of the hill interview that you wanted to do, like, dream interview, anyone in disc golf, let's shoot for the stars. Who would it be?
Are we talking like the Kubrick of disc golf? The
Kubrick of disc golf? Yeah, okay.
Someone big. Who do we admire, Matty?
As a commentator, someone that I've sat down, watched and penned some notes from.
Definitely. And we've had Finny.
We can cross Esapeka off that list.
Yeah.
A great Finnish commentator.
Kyle, anyone?
Oh, like, can we get a Brian Earhart?
Oh, right,
maybe.
Let's see.
I don't think so.
Boys, dream for the
Surely
stars.
not.
Let's just get Sexton, Big Germ, and Yuli while we're at it.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, not bad.
Right. Hang on. I'm getting a call, boys. Who could this be?
No way.
Not Tim Ware.
It's not Tim Ware.
We always catch up on a Saturday morning, the four of us online.
Like,
Absolutely,
boys,
yeah.
you wanted me to shoot from the stars. You shoot for the stars. I've shot for the stars. Enjoy. Here we go. Brian, are you there?
I'm right here. I'm 16 hours behind you guys, and I'm in the house. What's up? Stoked.
From the past, Brian Earhart.
From the past. That's right.
16 hours in the past. Look, Brian, amazing. And look, love the backdrop for starters. It makes us feel it gives us, I think, gives all four of us imposter syndrome immediately. I love it. It's a massive flex.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a big production to get it up, and getting it back down and putting it back up sounds terrible. So it's going to be up for anything that I make. And if they have to slap me on the wrist for it, then so be it. All good.
Well, look, Sandbaggers out there. For those of you that don't know, which I imagine is none of you, we've got a very special guest today. Professional disc golfer turned commentator, coach, podcast host, media luminary. I've probably missed something there. You know him from Jomez, DGN, his work bringing us thoughtful, analytical commentary and disc golf coverage. Brian Earhart, thanks so much for joining us all the way from Charlotte.
It's a real honor, and I'm still wanting to hear the story of how you got me to agree to this interview, because my friend Roman, not to say that I hate you guys, but my friend Roman, who was like my mentor in disc golf, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, these guys want to do an interview with you. You could have just messaged me on Instagram, but tell me the story. What happened and what transpired?"
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Brian. I was traveling to a tournament about an hour and a half out of Melbourne with American guy, Cooper Thompson, who you may know peripherally, or I think he knows your brother better.
Tommy,
yeah. And he said, he was talking to me about the channel. We've only just sort of met each other, and he's sort of saying, "Oh, you guys, your coverage and all of that." Because I love your panel show and I loved your interview with Esapeka. Who else would you love to interview? And I said straight away, Brian Earhart. And he goes, "Oh, my brother's been playing with him for years. I could probably get in touch with him, and my buddy Roman's a friend." So I said, yeah, sure, go on, Cooper. And sure enough, off he went. And this was only 2-3 weeks ago, I think we had this conversation. So yeah. It's quite amazing. And yes, we have found that with disc golf people, that we sort of, we're out here on our little island in Australia, and we look at it as sort of quite isolated, and no one knows we're here. That most people are pretty happy to talk to us if we just shoot them a message and get a message in the right place. Is that what you found over the years?
Yeah, and for me, I have a following, and yes, I do get recognized across the disc golf landscape, but not to the degree of guys like James Conrad or Paul Macbeth or Paige, to where a message on Instagram might get lost. For me, I still see everything that comes in. And yeah, I don't know. Like you said before we started the show, I don't get asked to be on a lot of podcasts, and I host every week, and I've recorded hundreds of podcasts. So it's nice to be able to sit back and answer the questions myself rather than having to come up with them. So I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, and I certainly appreciate that feeling. I think the first time, like after doing this for 3 or 4 years, the first time I was asked to just be on a podcast and talk about myself, it was like such a sigh of relief. So, no, glad it comes across the same way for you. But I think, I guess for our viewers, for our listeners, I mean, we've got a lot of people in Australia that have just taken up the game in the last couple of years, and may not watch a lot of DGN and everything, or haven't gone back and done the full history like we all did when we started playing. So for you, Brian, can we go back to the beginning and like, how did disc golf, frisbee, these crazy sports, how did they show up first in your life? Like, how did they present first? And yeah,
it presented itself in a few ways, but first off, the frisbee was like one of my favorite toys growing up. My dad had a black Whammo Master, and I remember him wanting to throw it. My dad wasn't really a disc golfer. He threw frisbee in the 70s with his buddies. He was a baseball player, and he would throw it with me every now and then. My mom was a school teacher, and she was always doing stuff in the neighborhood with the neighborhood kids. And one time for a block party that we had in our neighborhood, she set up a frisbee golf course in the neighborhood and just taped number signs to trees. She didn't know disc golf was a real thing, but she knew frisbee golf was a concept. So she gave us all frisbees. We walked through the neighborhood. We were throwing them. And I remember very vividly the very first hyzer that I ever threw. And it was like, it was like a wizardry moment where I got the disc to do exactly what I was wanting. And I was like 7 or 8 at that time. And then my obsession really just continued on. And I didn't know it was really an official sport until I was 12, and we found out that there was a course called Adler Park, which was about 10 minutes away from my house. My dad took me there before an American football game, the Bears game, and it hooked me. Didn't hook him at all. He hated it because it wasn't a Whammo, and we bought that Innova starter pack, and I just became more obsessed and fascinated and passionate about something than anything else that had ever caught my eye at that time. And yeah, I made a bunch of friends, like my buddy Roman, who got me on this show, relayed the message. All of my greatest friends that I've ever met have been through this game in some way or another. And it eventually took me to a place. I'm not going to tell the whole story, obviously, but I got pretty good at the game. And I was starting to lose my mind at a tech job at a dental software company. And I started to think that maybe I could do this, and I saved up all the money I could. I got scammed on an RV, so I started the tour with half the amount of money that I had saved. But luckily, I saved up a lot. I got scammed on an RV. It was a lemon. It was my fault. And then I went out in my 2005 Buick, and I just gave my entire life to the game. And almost 10 years later, I'm still here, still going. So life's pretty good.
Wow, boys.
There you go.
There's lots to unpack there.
Yeah, so I'm just taking that all in and just trying to process that started. You
told me to go back to the beginning, man. That's a long timeline.
I was just dialed in. I was interested in listening to the story there. We only have probably one full-time traveling disc golf player, would you say, boys, in the country, who does that and calls that his living. So it's interesting to hear that taking that plunge obviously is a lot bigger thing in Australia than it would be. But it still sounds like it was a big life risk you took. Yeah, I mean, how long did it take you to make that decision? Is that something you sort of decided one day, no, I'm going to go for it? Or was you like 6 months back and forth? Do I do this? Can I do this? I mean, sounds like you were really not into your career. So
yeah, you know, what's funny? I don't know if it was that I wasn't into the career. It was that I was so into disc golf that nothing else had any luster to it whatsoever. And it was this voice in the back of my head that was like yelling at me all day, every day, to just shut up and go do it. And that desire went all the way back to like high school when I was watching videos of Ken Climo and Barry Schultz and Schwebby on these blurry videos, or you'd find the DVDs and you could watch the DVDs. Roman would sometimes have them, and we'd go out and watch the DVDs and study pro disc golf. And, you know, at the time I wanted to do it, but you'd go on pdga.com and you'd see the prize money people were winning. And I thought that was the only way they made their money, because I didn't know how to make money other than like a job at an ice cream shop. I don't know. So I didn't realize the entrepreneurial spirit that some of these touring guys had. So back then I was like, all right, well, I want to do it, but it'll just be a fever dream for now. And I went to college like my parents told me to do. And I still, in the back of my head, was like, I'm going to do this at some point. And as college went on, I became exceptionally depressed. My mental health was in the gutter. Stuff got really dark. I almost dropped out of school. My grades were slipping. And I had a moment where essentially the major told me I was a junior, and that was the rock bottom for me. They told me that I had to get an internship. The whole major had to get an internship with some, you know, I was in Parks and Rec management at the time, and I had to get an internship or I couldn't graduate. So I had a moment of inspiration, and I just said, screw it. I'm going to email PDGA. I'm going to see if they do internships. And Brian Graham instantly emailed me back, and he's like, we don't really do internships, but we could. We hopped on a video call, and I went down there that summer, and it changed my life. I mean, I lived in Georgia at the International Disc Golf Center, and I saw that there were opportunities in the world of disc golf, and that there were professionals that were doing it. And I started to hear stories of how they were doing it. And after that point, I started to kind of set myself on a path. It wasn't till that was summer of 2012. But then 2015 is when I really said, okay, I'm going to like shift my career. My buddy Roman, again, he had a big part to do with this. I called him and I was like, hey, I'm not making a lot of money right now. I'm just kind of scrapping by. I barely paid rent, selling discs to try to cover the spread every now and then. Do you have any openings at your company, maybe in customer service or tech support or whatever? And he said, yes, actually we do. He got me an interview like the next day, and then that job was right next to my family's home. And I called them and said, hey, I have this plan. I want to save all this money. If you guys will let me live at home, I'm going to get out in 2 years and I'm going to go on tour. And they said, if you do it, you can move back home, but you have to execute the plan. So I went home, I lived with them. I sacrificed my social life for 2 years, and I practiced every day, saved up every dime that I could. And then, 2018 officially was when I hit the road. So it was a long, like, dedicated plan to make this happen. I had this big checklist, like, you got to hit 1,000 rated, you got to get sponsored by Discraft, you got to do all this stuff. And I was like desperately trying to get people to pay attention to me. I was doing so many free lessons. There was a year, I think it was 2017, when I got sponsored by Discraft. I did like hundreds of free video form checks just because I wanted anyone to trust what I was saying and hear what I had to say, because I knew that was the only way people were going to know who I was. Wow. And it worked. And Discraft called me at the end of that season. I almost beat Kale at the Silver Cup that year. Kind of caught the eye of a few people, and I checked all the boxes and hit the road. It was pretty crazy, but long journey for me. Much different than some of the other people I've interviewed, that's for sure.
Yeah, wow. Sorry again. Yeah, just taking all that in. It's interesting to listen to that. Because a lot of the players these days, there is a pathway. The younger guys, there is a pathway that you see, and I think we're in a similar position, if not a couple of years or a decade behind where the tour was probably at, if we ever get there to that stage in Australia where, we're not looking at a career in what we do, and you're going to have to forge our own somehow, whether it's selling discs. I know I sure as hell aren't doing any form reviews online or making 1,000 rated anytime soon. So it's really interesting to listen to, the tour as we see it now, and then and think about it that 15 years ago or so when you were trying to break in and create that career. But I want to talk briefly about competing professionally before moving into commentary, and I guess you were always coaching, but moving into that as more of a focus. What stands out really from your competitive years?
Injury. It was, and I wish it was something better, but I think about this all the time because we're watching the generations turn over, and injury is much more of a preventative thing now than it used to be. But my growing up, disc golf was never a sport to me. It was just like the thing that I couldn't stop thinking about. So I never thought of it like I need to get in the gym and train and do mobility and recovery and like all the stuff that really you need to do if you want to make it on tour full time. And so when I went on tour, again, not thinking about this as an athlete, I was good at disc golf. I practiced a lot. I played every day. But then when I had all this free time, I didn't have to go to a 9-to-5 job. I did field work for like 4 hours a day. I was like putting for hours a day. And my third tournament, I got to a point, I was at the Mother Lode. It was an A tier in Northern California in Grass Valley. And it was my first time going to California. I had just gotten my butt whooped by Joe Revere in Colorado. I played great, but he beat me by 8 strokes. It was a great experience. And then I got to California and I'm practicing, and all of a sudden I like can't, my arm like won't move. And I start putting, and I found out that if I actually like popped it, my shoulder would like do this weird thing and it would start to hurt. And I was I remember laying in a tent, because I slept in a tent a lot of that year, in some guy's yard that I had just met. And I was laying there with my arm just like I couldn't lift it up in the air at all. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not going home. I've saved up too much money and I've spent too much time working to this. I'm going to just finish out the year. So from that point, my third tournament on tour, I was dealing with this just really, really bad, like shoulder impingement, probably a rotator cuff tear. Eagle McMahon talks about this feeling of like instability in his shoulder when he threw. And I totally resonate with that. I never got a doctor to look at it because I didn't have insurance at the time. So I just had to keep going. So I bought this shoulder brace, strapped my shoulder up real tight, and I finished out the year. The Mother Lode tournament, I'm picking my arm up to throw backhand because I just wanted to finish. I got 10th. I cashed, but you know, from that point on, it was just like catch up, and the damage was done. And you know, I got moved up to the elite team because I battled through all of it, and I did decent at USDGC that year. Not great, but I finished strong. And Discraft called me and said, hey, man, we're proud of you, and we want to give you a shot at the elite team, which was the first year I got the zone. But, like, it was just too late. Like, the damage had been done. So the rest of my career from 19, 20, 21 was just kind of a downward spiral of just, like, more and more pain. I had to do more and more work to keep it up. And like, I loved it, but it was starting to really wear on me towards the end. And commentary was starting to really feel good. And I kind of reached a fork in the road. Sorry to be long-winded again, but yeah, I think about this all the time. Those 4 years of my life competing full-time were so transformative, but yeah, painful for sure. I respect those guys a lot that can keep it going without getting injured.
Yeah. Well, I mean, cricket's a big sport in Australia. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it at all.
Yeah.
But there's a thing about fast bowlers. If you've seen any of it, they're the guys that run in, bowl it like the baseball pitcher. And they say a fast bowler in world cricket is never playing without an injury. So I often wonder if that's something that is inherent on the Disc Golf Pro Tour as well, because you know, I'm 40, I'm 45 in a week or two, and I don't think I ever play around without coming home and having to do some sort of rehab, or, you know, and this is just a 9-hole pitch and putt sort of course, you know, so the injuries must be incredible, but I imagine it has much more of a sort of impact, like a mental impact when you're out there, you're 10 holes in and your shoulder starts to freeze up, or, you know, you feel it in your back or something, when it is your livelihood, right? It is what you've staked everything on, and
it's not a big livelihood.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I can certainly, it's very interesting to hear. Boys, anything from you?
I was going to say, like, obviously kind of that forge your own path method. How have you seen things change from a sponsorship and even just like general disc golf infrastructure point of view to support this injury prevention and kind of managing how it is to tour, be that the body, the mind? How has that evolved?
Yes. So like I was saying, you know, the generations have seen, like, especially the youngest generation, they watched what happened to Simon. They watched what happened to Eagle. They probably didn't care what happened to me because I wasn't winning the tournaments back then. But there was a generation that was just starting to get crushed by injury. And, you know, guys like Seth Munsey at Disc Golf Strong just tried to raise awareness of it and tried to get ahead of it and develop new ways for players to train. And it just kind of became over the years a new standard. That's just what you had to do. If you wanted to last a full season and actually play your best, you have to do that. You have to get ahead of it and train now. You don't wait until you get the injury. So it seems more like a natural thing. Like you'll see guys there before their tournament rounds, hour plus before, not even throwing. They're there to warm up their body and stretch and do so many more athletic things than we used to do. Even when I started in 2018, it's rapidly changed. And I think it's just because competition. Like if the rest of the players are training like that and you're not, good luck, bud. You're going to have a tough time. And Isaac's always working out. Gannon's working out a lot more now. Like they realize that guys like Ezra Aderhold, Ben Calloway, there's a reason why they can play the way they play and not ever worry about injury. Like knock on wood, obviously, but it's a huge advantage to have. So the game is just becoming more athletic. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've seen that in Australia as well. I was talking about this with another podcast a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we haven't seen it so much until this year, but the fitter guys, the young guys, the Blake Houstons, the Alex Kinnistons that are going to the gym, meeting each other at the gym every day, and us showing the results are the ones that are, they're streaking ahead of the field all of a sudden. So it's making a difference here too. Boys, anything more on that?
Yeah, I was just wondering if a lot of players have, do they often alter their form to sort of suit the longevity of the season now? Like we've talked about on our show before, how maybe the Pro Tour is a little too big or too long for these guys that, aren't making a hell of a lot of cash and having to take care of themselves. Like do players, if they're feeling an injury come on, will they learn new form techniques to sort of, maintain the body over the length of the season?
It is totally part of the conversation. I actually, most specifically, I was talking with Macbeth a couple of years ago at the European Open, and I'll never forget him say that as his career has progressed, he's tried to change his play style and kind of throttle his speed and get better at shot shaping because of being able to play at a high level for longer. And now it's just funny because you have to find the happy medium, because Paul started to realize like these guys are crushing it 200 feet farther than me, 100 feet farther than me. I need to get the speed back. So it's a catch-22 because these young kids are going to come into the game and they don't care about longevity. They're going to learn that lesson probably later, but you have to find a way to compete. And you're talking about form. That is so individual. There's some guys, like think about Matty O. Never once is he like, oh, I don't like what my off arm's doing. Like Matty O's never thinking about that. But then there's some guys like Bradley Williams, who's like, I think he's a prime example of somebody who's like, I'm getting older and I need to continue to throw far, but I'm not going to hurt myself trying to just throw harder. So it's definitely been discussed. But everybody kind of has a different journey in the game, and some players are just really not concerned with form. I don't know. It's something that I think about a lot. And like you said, the tour being too big. Yeah, it's another happy medium. I think when it comes to growing pro disc golf, venue development and future venue development of new places needs to be a priority. Because I think, I don't think we want to see the guys get injured nonstop playing 30 tournaments a year where the courses are 12,000 feet. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope to be involved in that sometime in the future.
Totally.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Anything else, boys, before we move on to, I guess, a slightly related subject? Jace, anything?
No further on that.
Yeah. Well, I guess Jason Matty might be interested in this subject most, but I want to talk about your commentary and how that happened. You mentioned that you started to enjoy it more than playing. I guess you're obviously, one of the most respected, I want to say, voices in disc golf, certainly from our perspective and certainly from a lot of people that we speak to, and certainly a voice that we've modeled our style off a lot. How did that first come up for you? How did that opportunity first present itself? Or did you, as you seem to with most other opportunities in your life, just grab it?
Well, it's a mixture of both. And I think part of touring is also networking and making friends with people that you respect and telling them that you respect them and telling them that you are interested in helping in any way you can. And eventually I got asked by Gatekeeper at the end of 2018 to do commentary for the first time on the Delaware Disc Golf Challenge with Joel Freeman. That was my first ever commentary gig, I believe. Wow. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it was just fun. And I didn't really critique commentary. It's crazy how critical people are of commentators. I always am entertained, whether that it's bad commentary or good commentary. But it was fun to have people comment on my storytelling. And I started emailing all the companies after that. And I was like, hey, Jomez, hey, Central Coast, hey, GK, can I commentate? I'll fill in. I'll do it for very cheap. And in 2019, I got a break on Jomez from Yulee because I toured with him in the Discraft RV that year because we became friends the previous year. And that was another big break because now I have that on my resume. That was Texas State's 2019. And yeah, it was like me and Nate Perkins were kind of living the same timeline. It was just constantly messaging the companies like, hey, please give me a shot. Please give me a shot. And eventually I kind of became a regular stand-in in all the companies. I did stuff with GK. I did stuff with Central Coast. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. And then in 2020, Gatekeeper called me and said, hey, we want like a regular team, kind of like Jomez. What do you think about being that guy? So I was super excited, super stoked. Obviously it makes you more money. It wasn't a ton of extra money, but it was enough. But I was thinking long term, there's going to be disc golf commentators in the future. If the sport blows up, disc golf commentators are going to be needed. So I took the job. Me and Tristan Tanner, I believe, did some commentary together. And then eventually me and Perkins linked up. And, he came on and we ripped it up and it was super fun. It was a great time. But yeah, that was just another saga. The whole Gatekeeper thing. Like, I love those guys so much. And you're really flying by the seat of your pants when you're not like the top of the top at in disc golf YouTube. You don't get the same treatment as Jomez got to give people because they were killing it.
Yeah, we certainly understand that, and we've obviously spent a bit of time with Andrew Fish, and he's told stories of commentating at 3 a.m. because graphics haven't worked or something, or sitting in a bathtub because the sound's better.
That's better than what we had. Yeah. It was like we had to wait till 7 a.m. the next day. So we'd be playing, and there was one year, I think it was 2020, the women and the men switched. So if you played bad, you're playing early in the morning, your commentary puts you like 45 minutes before your tee time. So we'd get up, we'd rush to go get the videos, or download the videos, but we're both in vans. So we have to find a Starbucks or a McDonald's. And sometimes the McDonald's doesn't have good Wi-Fi. You got to rush to the other place, download the videos. I'd find Perkins. We'd sit in my van with the microphones. We'd lay down the audio track, and then I'd rush to the Gatekeeper guys and airdrop the files to them. And then we'd go play our disc golf round that day. And that was like, yeah. And we did it for a lot less than what any other, commentators were doing. Not to say that Gatekeeper was the problem, but that's just disc golf commentary if you're not doing Jomez. But some of the best times of my life were doing that, but also it kind of made me realize, like, I can't do both of this anymore. I can't play and do this. That was kind of where the fork in the road started to begin. It's like, I don't want to stop commentating, but I also don't really want to stop playing. What should I do? That's kind of the big catalyst, the big moment for me in my career was like 2021.
Wow. Jace, Matty, as the commentators.
Yeah. Matty and I are our commentators, and we've done a couple of live streams for the national, or 3 of them now for the national championships. And I mirror your thoughts or your comments exactly on what you say about just absolutely loving it. We have a great time doing it. And I think Matty will agree. For the boys could quite easily tell you I'm a sport nut. I watch just about every sport available to me. And one of the big aspects for the sport has always been the commentary. I think watching the sport is part of it, but then the spectacle and the atmosphere that's created by the commentator has always made it more enjoyable for me. It's why I have a keen interest in it. And I suppose I'm interested to know, we all have our own commentary style. Maddie and I definitely do, if you've ever heard it. And it's everyone's a little different. And I think everyone tries to bring their own flavor for what they like. And I'm interested to know what your influences are and what your main aim is when you're commentating around these days. Is, you know, what are you trying to bring that you think disc golf commentary currently doesn't have in the game? What is it?
So I'll kind of go before and after. So like before I went full-time in commentary, especially in Gatekeeper, I was either loved for how geeky I got about just like loving the shape of a flight, and talking about nuances of how they threw the disc and why it's doing what it's doing, why they're making certain disc selections. I love that kind of stuff. And I love watching different players attack the game, and attack different courses. So I would really get into that. And some people thought it was just such overkill. And some people just thought it was the greatest thing to happen to disc golf. They wrote an article about me. Like, I remember, I forgot exactly who did it, maybe UltiWorld, but I said the word multi-angle shot on commentary one year, and to describe like a flip up that flexes a little bit. And apparently it had not been said before. And some people thought it was the greatest thing in disc golf. They were like messaging me like, hey man, it's so clean. It's so descriptive. I love that. And it's very like specific to disc golf. And then some people were like, this dude sucks. This dude needs to stop saying stuff like this. Some guy told me, a pretty prominent figure in disc golf told me straight to my face that I was doing a disservice to the sport of disc golf and that was like, second year on tour.
Wow.
And it was around a bonfire, not the right vibe to say that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, cool, man. Maybe that means I'm doing something right if people are having that type of reaction alongside the really positive stuff. So that was before. I was just really passionate about like the disc itself, the throwing, the flight. But as I've progressed in my career, I've grown more excited about the golf as well, and like the players' stories, getting to this place, performing under pressure, all the stuff that doesn't involve just the Frisbee itself. I've gotten better at illustrating that. And that's what I've been trying to get better at, is like how I deliver stats, how I handle big moments, how I tell a story tastefully without cutting into the next shot. Because you guys know live broadcasts are tough sometimes to know what shot's coming next, where you're going with the broadcast. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I always want to be an educator, though. At the end of the day, I want people to feel like they've left the broadcast knowing something new about the game that makes them kind of love it a little bit more. And I've heard that, in tennis, I think it was McEnroe. I was watching Wimbledon, maybe. I forget exactly when it was, but he was talking about serve speeds on first serve versus second serve. And I'm not a tennis player, but I was just so excited to hear him dive into these little things that I would have never considered before. So that's the kind of stuff that I try to bring to the table, at least when I'm doing color. I do a little bit of play-by-play, but color is kind of more what I try to practice. That's kind of my style, at least now.
Yeah, well. Matty, Kyle.
I was just going to ask if you've got any preference over live versus post-produced commentary.
Live is great. I love doing live. Yeah, post-produce is fine. It's just like once you do it, once you feel like the live broadcast, like you guys know, like there's nothing like it. The post-produce, there's magic there if you don't know what happens already, but it happens so quick. So I don't know. I like to have time to tell a story and like let my research actually come forward. Like sometimes like Germ and Yuli and those guys, even if they did all the homework in the world, it wouldn't matter because they don't have enough time to talk about it on air. So I don't know. That's my preference for sure. What about you guys?
Yeah, I 100%
our live is a little different to yours because we only cover the one card. So we've got, probably an extra amount of what we'd call like dead time that we have to fill. But Jason and I are pretty proficient in SHIT talking. So we we go off on some tangents that I'm sure some people really enjoy and some people just think, what are these bozos talking about? We prefer the live as well for the same reasons you just mentioned. Yeah.
Also,
I don't want to speak on your behalf, Jace.
No, that's fine. Yeah, live hands down for me. I feel like a lot more relaxed with the live coverage, definitely, and I feel like you can let what's happening on screen play out, and you can sort of just add over the top to build that story. As you said, it's storytelling. It's about adding the bits that people can't see to really shape the story on screen. Yeah, post produced, it's you're basically telling people what's happened, and yeah, it's pretty short and sharp. So you don't get as big a chance to do that. It's more reactions with that sort of post produced.
For sure.
Yeah, it's certainly the live broadcast. I mean, I come from a theatre background, so the electricity of a live broadcast, and it's almost the feeling that anything can go wrong, and how are you going to react? How are you going to recover from it? What's going to happen next? Is sort of the electricity I feel, I guess, when we're doing a live broadcast. But I guess I want to talk about that for a moment. Like, we talk about it a lot, but from your perspective, obviously on the bigger stage, what's something fans or viewers might not realize or might not think about that goes into live or post-produced production that you think, geez, if they only knew, they wouldn't complain, or they wouldn't moan about this. Yeah.
I think you guys, so to start this, I think you guys need to have some camera guys on, like Josh from Jomez, who's done catch cam and like everything, or Bobby Cox from Go Throw. Some of these really skilled camera operators. And if you guys need recommendations, I got the tier list. AJ Risley is one of those guys too. Filming disc golf at that level is unbelievably hard. Like, we've had guys that have filmed for like professional baseball, professional football, and they're like, there's no shot. There's nothing like filming disc golf. It's the hardest thing in the world. Like, we got guys getting heat stroke out there because they're hiking 5 miles a day with a 20-pound camera and tripod, and and they have to be in position, so they're running to the spot. And if you have two quick players in the card that don't take a lot of time, these guys are not going to. And that's the thing, that to answer your question, sometimes you're like, why is that the camera angle? Why, like, what the heck is going on? The whole production team, because these guys have to get the shot, perfectly drop the camera when the producer tells them to, and then sprint to the next spot. The window is so small, and every now and then you're going to see the camera drop on accident because the producer's doing a million things that other pro sports don't have to, because there's other employees to check these things. Like, there's so many more safety measures in a production room in other sports. So these guys are magicians, and they're in unbelievable shape. And also, I say this with so much love for AJ Risley, you have to know disc golf to be a very skilled disc golfer. You have to know the physics of the flight of a disc. AJ Risley is on T-Cam. If Calvin Heimberg pulls out that orange eagle, AJ knows what orange eagle it is. He knows if he misses, what's going to happen to that orange eagle. And he's going to be able to pan very smoothly because he sees him misrelease it immediately out of his hand. And that's the kind of stuff that AJ, Bobby Cox, Josh, like all those guys can do while hiking 25, 30,000 steps a day. I just have so much love and respect for the camera operators, and the production room is like a skeleton crew compared to other sports. Like, we go to these national broadcasting conventions and blow the brains out of people's skulls with what we're able to accomplish. And then throughout the season, you hear people lose their minds at how terrible of a product we have, when really, when you talk to some of these guys, like Jeffrey Tosi is another guy you absolutely need to have on your show. He's our director of broadcast technology. And he's so well-spoken. He's so smart, so optimistic. And he's just laughing like, this is magic what we're doing. And I'm not going to believe otherwise. So that's what I want people to know. With the budget we have and the parameters we have, it is stunning what we're able to accomplish. And people really do think we're supposed to be on the same level as like baseball and football. They really compare us to that because of how good we're getting right now. So for me, I don't care. I hate when people say you're the hardest working guy in disc golf, Brian. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Oh my God. No. Nope. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and I'm just going to say thank you. Something we didn't say in the pre-show part is that Kyle and I, for the live streams, are the camera operators. So it is tough. I think I counted on my Fitbit or my watch, 67,000 steps over 3 days of nationals, and I didn't wear my watch one day of the 4-day tournament, and I got 67,000 or something like that. So it's pretty wild, but I mean, it is. It's communicating with the players as well, and sort of saying, it's not post-production. We can pull the cameras down whenever we want. We can pull the cameras away. We can, take it, and we'll just go. We'll edit that out, make a mental note. But live, it's like you literally have to stand there and wait until the guy in your ear says, "I'm off you now." I'm on the other camera. Yeah. So interesting to hear. I want to talk just very quickly on the commentator thing as well. You've worked alongside a variety of different commentators probably all of them that we've heard over the years.
Pretty much.
Yeah. What do you think makes for good chemistry between the commentators? I'm not going to ask you who your favorite is, but you can tell us if you want.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I can take something away from all of my coworkers. I think everyone has strengths that have gotten them to the booth. Whether people love them or hate them, that's kind of part of the job, is to be perceived. But what makes good chemistry to me is rapport, history, trust, and really, like, you can't just pair two people in a booth and expect them to make magic. I really do think you have to be compatible as friends and compatible as humans. Yes, it's a professional endeavor, but you have to have that layer of trust and respect for the other person as well. Otherwise, it really does come out. Like, I've heard it in other sports where you're like, these two guys don't like each other, and that's abrasive, and that feels bad. But that's why, I'm grateful at this point. They put me with a bunch of different people in the beginning because I was the new guy. And I just kind of filled in the cracks for a long time. But now working with Perkins, working with Charlie, Esapeka, I worked with Esapeka all throughout the Europe stretch. And after every round, we would go out, we would drink Minto, which is like the Finnish national liquor. We'd always get one little thing of Minto, and we would just geek out about disc golf. We'd go play 9 holes afterwards. And it makes work just a wonderful time when you can, when you have the chemistry with somebody to actually go have fun with them. And then you're just sitting and having the time of your life, enjoying a moment with someone that you care about. So to me, maybe more so than a lot of other people, and maybe even more so than my boss, I think chemistry is like the utmost importance. I think you could get more magic out of two people who are less experienced than two really experienced commentators that aren't really the best of friends. That's my thought, at least.
Yeah, I think we've found that in I guess case in point with Maddie and Jason, and I don't think they'll mind me saying that they were a you'll do choice. You're available. We're doing our live.
Hey,
streams.
Me too, man.
Well, we're doing our live streams, and all the pros are playing. All the experienced guys are playing in that round.
Exactly.
Maddie and Jason are back. We can use them. They're not playing the tournament, and Jason's done a bit of commentary for us. Maddie's done a bit of post-produced. We're like, live's a different animal. And for some reason, that first year, it was absolute magic. It just worked. They get along like a house on fire. They've got banter. So we've seen that in operation, I guess. And I guess just quickly before I throw to the other guys, I did those rounds with Esapeka. I watched them on his Instagram. You guys out there throwing, and him, there's joyous pictures. And I honestly don't know who I was more jealous of, him playing with you or you playing with him. It was fantastic to watch. Boys, any questions on that? The commentary, chemistry? Do you want to dig a little deeper, perhaps? Get some horror stories?
I had a question surrounding kind of the production side of things with like typical habitat being DGN and all of these post-produced companies in the YouTube ecosystem, and wanted to kind of diverge from that and ask what your experience was like working on the World Games and with ISB, and how that was a very, very different vibe.
It was a very, very different vibe. That's for sure. I didn't know what to expect, but I really wasn't nervous at all because this was the year that I felt like I really it stopped feeling like I was wearing the costume of being a disc golf commentator full time. It felt like that's just like the everyday clothing that I wear now. And I went out there knowing that I'm the expert. I'm going to be teaching the guy next to me about disc golf. And when I get there, it's like, wow, like this is a legitimately world stage event. Like you get off the plane and the plane is full of athletes with their different team gear across different sports and countries. And there's instantly volunteers that usher you to the next group of volunteers, that usher you to the next group of volunteers, that ushers you to the bus. And then you get on the bus and they take you to the place where you're supposed to go get your registration. And everything was beautifully marked. Everything was so clean. The city of Chengdu was so cool and so different from what I was used to. Just massive 21 million person city. Obviously I've never been to China before. But you know what it made me feel? It made me feel excited for the future because I looked around and like I was in the airport and there was a long line to check your baggage, but I saw Gannon at the front of the line and he like winked and he's like, "Oh, I was looking for you. Okay, get over here." And I ran to the front of the line and just talking with him and Missy and all the other players, like they're all realizing how big this game is and the responsibility that we all have to push this. It's not going to inevitably become this world sport. We have to do it together. And it was nice to see all the players buying in as well. But from a production side, it was honestly, it was a little underwhelming. But also I expected it because disc golf was an exhibition sport in the World Games. I went in there and there was just like a white folding table and a little monitor, and that's it. And because we weren't on camera, so there was no like lights or anything. It was just kind of like a really cold room with a little white folding table and a little monitor. And, you know, everybody in the production room was trying to learn how to produce disc golf. And Jeffrey Tosi was there as kind of a broadcast liaison, and he's just a phenomenal people person. And he really helped to captain the pirate ship, so to speak. And every day they got better. But it just went to show me how talented our crew is and how good we really are. These are world-class producers, world-class camera operators. They paired me with a guy, Brendan Telfer. He's from Melbourne, actually. He has a house out there. He used to own a TV studio there, I guess. He has done world sports since 1984. He did the Los Angeles Olympics. So that was my co-commentator. And he was wonderful. And I got to kind of watch him and the production team and everybody kind of fall in love with disc golf day after day as they were kind of dealing with these chaotic moments. I got one story, and I don't know if I'm going to get fined for this or not. I don't know if I'm allowed to share this.
Don't worry, no one watches this. You'll be fine.
Yeah, tens and tens of viewers. You're good.
All right, great. So second day, the first day was a nightmare because they tried to do 3 18-hole matches the first day. And it was it was the hottest I had ever experienced in my entire life. It was astoundingly hot. And the players went to the tournament director and said, "We're absolutely not going to play 3 18-hole matches. We're going to die out here." And they said, "Okay, well, great. You'll do 3 12-hole matches." And so they went out and they played the 3 12-hole matches, and 2 of the camera operators got heat stroke. And because they were out there all day for 3 matches, and they came back to work the next day. They all showed up because they wanted to watch some disc golf. Wow. But second day happens. It's a lot smoother in the production booth. However, the end of the broadcast happens. And the ending screen that they showed us yesterday, there's no producer in our ears at all. So no one is telling us where we're going, what's happening on the show, when the show starts, when the show ends. We just have to guess. The ending screen shows up. And Brendan's like, "Oh, brilliant. The show's over. Wonderful second day," and blah, blah. His voice is so perfect. And we end the show. And I get up and I leave and I go back to the hotel and I get a text from Brendan like 15 minutes later, like, "Where are you? We got to keep going. Apparently they're showing the playoffs that are happening." And nobody told us that was happening. So, you know, it was a strange experience, but again, first time that they've dealt with disc golf, and clearly they didn't plan for that, and we didn't plan for it either. So huge improvement second day, but then that happened, and then the third day came, and it was just really great, truly great. The bronze medal match with Latvia coming in third place, it was brilliant. It was just wonderful, compelling disc golf to see a country like Latvia get that medal. both of them, Pexana and Belotis, are just both phenomenal players, and I'm so happy we got to watch them, and potentially got to watch Kristen's final competitive event as well. So overall,
yeah.
I think it was exceptionally promising, and I really want to be a part of the team that helps to get it in the 29 games in Germany. It was a truly wonderful experience.
Yeah.
If that answers your question, sorry.
Absolutely. No, that's the best answer I could have imagined from that question.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Yeah, it's I guess it's good of Kyle to bring up the World Games. Obviously, probably remiss of us not to mention it earlier, because I guess we faced our own similar challenges with broadcasting the World Teams disc golf event match play. I mean, it must be fun to commentate. It's got to be, but the actual broadcast showing you the story of what's happening and being able to keep up and everything, I think that did get better day by day with the World Games as well. But yeah, how do you find that? Well, match play versus stroke play as a commentator.
I love it. I think it's just fine. I think the format for the World Games worked out really well because of the fact that was probably the way they got us into the World Games, because I'm thinking, if they go to the World Games and say, hey, we have 700 athletes you have to house and feed, that's not going to look so good. But 36 and adjusting the format accordingly probably made them a little bit more appetizing. And I think they did it well. I think the course needed a lot of work. I think the park was cool. I think if they made it 12 holes instead of 18, it would have been spectacular. But I think that just the land that Charlie Meade had to work with, I think, was tough for 18 holes. And also, how do you design for mixed doubles in an alt shot format? It's difficult because FPO players need, certain distances on their shots. MPO players need certain distances on their shots. So that's also a very complicated format if they're playing the same layout. So, I thought overall it was good. I like match play. I think sometimes the format can actually be quite boring. It always sounds good on paper, and sometimes it really doesn't deliver. But this time I felt like it went really, really well. Yeah.
Wow. I want to take a bit of a sidestep here, as we've probably got to wrap up in about 15 minutes or so. But you've spoken a lot over the years about things like form and the usual hitting areas in disc golf videos, but I've seen you break down your approach to the mental side of the game, which I've found really fascinating. Probably haven't seen anyone speak on it more digestibly, if that's a word, than yourself. Can you talk about that a little, and what your key, I guess, areas of thought around the mental side of the game are?
Yes. Thank you for noting that. And it's funny, anytime it feels like somebody is really tapped into that, I'm starting to realize in my own world that it's because they themselves have had to do a lot of work to get to a good place there. If you don't have to worry about your mental game, they're not going to think about it. So they probably can't articulate, even though they have a good mental game. But what I found is, ego is a very fascinating thing. And the way I've learned to describe it is, it's a voice in your head. It's a voice that either talks to you without you speaking it out loud, or it's a voice that sometimes you do project out into the world. And it's that voice that is just berating you, negative, essentially telling you to quit and hide in a hole and protect yourself. And some people's ego comes out outwardly, and some people's is just more of an internal struggle. But what I've learned that's changed my life really outside of disc golf, and it's something that a lot of people I've coached have really taken to, is to watch that voice and identify it when the voice of that ego is speaking, whether it's out loud or it's in your head, and to remember that that's not who we are as people. Who we are as people is a little kid dreaming to be an astronaut when they grow up, and they don't care how hard it is to be an astronaut. They just want to do the good thing. They want to do the thing that they're dreaming of. And in disc golf, that's all we need to be worried about, is the thing that we are setting our mind to. And I think it was Giannis Antetokounmpo in the NBA who yelled at a reporter for asking, hey, do you think this season was a failure because you didn't win the championship? And he looked at the reporter and said, there is no failure in sports. And to me, that says he's thinking of the same thing. He only cares about doing the thing he's setting his mind to, which is winning. So,
Wow.
what I've found is, and actually, if we're going to take this far, if you're going to let me riff on this,
go for it.
Even in the metaphor, the little kid runs around house with their astronaut uniform on that they've bought. Eventually someone's going to tell them, do you realize how hard it is to be an astronaut? You realize only, a handful of people can go to space. Oh, I'm not paying for school if you're doing that. Eventually, like, it kind of gets beat out of you, and you think that there is a failure. There is a problem with what I'm thinking of. And I think if you can remove all that and you can stay that pure intention, that single-minded person, that's a superpower. And a lot of us have to unlearn that in a sport like disc golf, where quote unquote failure happens essentially every shot. I think it was Jack Nicklaus said in a perfect round of golf, he might only hit 4 or 5 perfect shots. And so that's not a lot. And there's some people who really get frustrated if they don't throw a perfect shot. But anyway, the other concept that I'm fascinated with in disc golf and coaching is a question I get asked a lot. And it's when you watch the best players in the world, the best athletes in the world, but in disc golf, like Macbeth, Ricky, Paige, Kristen, they get mad. They get very mad. They get very intense and angry. And it feels counterintuitive to what you read about sometimes, like how to avoid negative emotions, how to stay zen and calm. But why are the best players in the world showing extreme frustration? I've seen Paul Macbeth bend his putters in half and throw them in the trash and then still win a tournament. And it's the concept of mental flexibility that I've been reading a lot about. There's a sports psychologist, Brett McCabe, who works with the University of Alabama, who talks a lot about it. And essentially the concept is just the people like Paul and Ricky that are super intense when they play, they display mental flexibility. And what that is being able to feel the negative emotion, let yourself freely feel it, but it's isolated to the thing they're actually upset about. The difference is a lot of people will feel that emotion towards the thing that caused it, but then it generalizes to everything else. They make a mental or a personal identification with that emotion, and self-fulfilling prophecies begin after that. And that's that snowball effect that people, when they feel it, they can't control it, or they can't be honest with themselves about what they're mad about. And that's why the best players in the world look so insane when they're playing bad. But then we're always trying to tell ourselves to not feel angry. It's more they can regulate that emotion and like handle it, and we can't. And yeah, that's kind of like big things that I think about, at least these days.
I think that last point, Brian, Jason, or perhaps it was Matty, you noticed that exact thing in Thomas Gilbert at Nationals last year. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we commented that on his when we were commentating him, and that's something that I noticed compared to the Australian players, and they're the differences that we were looking for in the commentaries. Getting to commentate someone like Thomas Gilbert at our national championships was how quickly he was able to come back from that, and it illustrates exactly what you said. It was a moment of anger, a punch of the palm or something like that. It was a let it all out. It is what it is now, and now I'm going to bring myself back from that.
Exactly.
It was like two different people out there, I suppose, is the best way to describe it. But yeah, that's one thing that we noticed is how easy he was able to regulate that back and forth. So yeah, I 100% understand what you're saying.
I've actually heard it in lessons too, where I teach the lesson to people about like the voice of the ego and the mental flexibility, and then we're going through a practice round, a fun round of disc golf, and some of the things that people call themselves on the disc golf course is insane. even in like a practice round, like they have no control over the ego, essentially telling them to quit and never try again. And yeah, it's something so easy to think of. And if anybody's listening to this, here's a great number one lesson that you can instantly start thinking about.
Hang on, Brian, I'm just turning you up. Yep. Got you.
Watch yourself talk. When you talk out loud, what are you saying? How are you describing your shots? How are you describing the results of your shots? Are they subjective or are they objective? when they're subjective, you say things like that putt sucked or you idiot, all these things that are just your opinion. That is all ego, especially when it comes to negative descriptions of things. That's all ego. That is not you. That's not necessary, because that sends zero message to your brain. If a scientist says this chemical reaction sucked, that's probably not what they're supposed to be writing. They should probably write something like chemical reaction didn't get to temperature. That sends a message, oh, change it and try to get it up to temperature. Whereas some players will shank a drive and they'll say, oh, you moron. Just say that the drive was right. Just say that it was too right. That sends a message to your body to make a correction next time. And if you get in that habit of speaking objectively about your game, then you're going to actually remove the fear of the negative result because it's gone. Because you're not going to be talking to yourself that way. So that's an exercise that now I didn't make it up, obviously. That was Dr. Joseph Parent in the book Zen Golf, I believe. But yeah, there you go. There's one for you.
I'm definitely going to stop calling myself a stupid loser every time I hit first available.
I mean, unless you are. Unless it's objective.
I think it depends who you ask, like you say, when you're in the disc golf. Yeah, when you're in disc golf media, I think it depends who you ask, doesn't it? Like you say.
Oh, certainly. I've been called fat, skinny, stupid, and brilliant all in one weekend.
That is spectacular.
I know Kyle has to drop out soon, but if you're okay to keep going, I think we've got a few other things we'd love to ask Brian. Boys, have you got anything on the mental game before we move on? Matt, Jace, Kyle?
I wanted to jump in just quickly. Obviously, the book Zen Golf, Jack Nicklaus, there's a lot of parallels between disc golf and golf, and I wanted to get your thoughts on the biggest differences you see in kind of golf and how they approach the mental game versus disc golf. Are there things that are disc golf specific that you think are more important to focus on in the mental game?
That is a really, really good question. Not necessarily, because when you get disc golf specific, it's more in like disc selection. And I think maybe if I'm thinking about it that way, I think that's maybe the only difference. But all of my biggest lessons that I've gotten have been from golf books. I mean, there isn't like one or two disc golf specific books, but really, I think it goes so much deeper than the flying disc itself. It's a solo sport with a lot of time to sit with your own thoughts. And I feel like I couldn't quite tell somebody like this is only specific to our game because it's fundamental to being a person. And I feel like everybody says golf reflects real life in a lot of really good ways. And I still kind of believe in that. So right now I would say no.
Interesting. Boys, Matty, Jace?
Oh, with all the help I need with my mental game, we'd need another hour. So I'll
have a seat, lay down.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely some great videos online. All you have to do is type into YouTube Brian Earhart mental game, and plenty of it comes up, and it's fascinating to I guess contextualize for yourself if you are so inclined. But I guess I want to talk about disc golf media now as we're sort of in this. We're trying to push it forward in Australia, and I guess you've been through the forward push or a lot of it in the US. What's your perspective on where disc golf media is headed, where it needs to head, where it needs to put its focus going forward? What's the I guess, how do you see that? How do you see the next 5-10 years in disc golf media?
Yeah, good question. I always joke with everybody, like all of us here in this podcast, everyone in the US with disc golf media, we're all still trying to build the blueprint. It's so contrary to the last question that Kyle asked, this is so specific. This sport is so niche when it comes to how we pitch it and show it to the rest of the world. I think the future of disc golf media, a lot of it is constrained by our budgets and where we play. And that's why I think personally, the chess.com guy, actually, when I was walking with him in Florida, I think it was last year, he asked me the same question, and I said venues, and he kind of was like, that's not media related. But I said, like, some tee pads at some of the courses we play have no room for our guys to actually get a real shot. And infrastructure for media has not really been a thing because it hasn't had to be. So I firmly believe that the sport continues to grow. Venues is number one. We need to like build pretty spectacular venues that have media in mind, tee boxes that have media in mind, camera stands where people can go up and actually like film, like
Bird's nest.
stationary cams that are in really good spots. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think we could change, but we already got the telestrator this year. I was hoping for a telestrator for a very long time. I am so excited to start drawing on the screen next season. But man, I don't know. It just really comes from money. Cell signal is what our media operations guy would tell us. I told him, you guys have unlimited money. What are you doing? He just goes, cell signal, cell signal, cell signal. Our cameras are already kind of the standard right now. I think we could get better cameras, but then it adds a skill element to like the auto zoom and actually being manually on the lens. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And a studio. So the final thing, I'd love to hear what you guys think, is a real studio to commentate in, because right now the reality is my house, this bedroom in my house is one of the DGN studios. Nate Doss's garage is one of the studios. And I think, we don't have a studio. We don't have a place where people commentate consistently out of. And that prevents us from doing a lot of stuff. So as the sport grows, as the tour becomes more successful, I firmly believe we're going to, in the next 5-10 years, all that little stuff, the infrastructure, will make it easier to broadcast the game. That's kind of what I think. What do you guys think?
Boys. I mean, Jason. I was going to say, Jason speaking as someone with a commentary studio in his house also. Yeah.
I just deconstructed our live studio a week or so ago, actually, which has taken up bedroom in the house. But look, studios, one element I really liked about the Worlds this year was the where the commentary booth was from that vantage point. I'm going, I think it was hole 17 or 18 where you could see 18. The players. 18, yeah. I love that. I love that atmosphere, and that commentators could just turn around and sort of watch the players walk behind on 18. So I'd like to see, and that crosses over with your venues point as well. Things like that being thought of when the tournaments are being planned. About you watch Super Bowl Sunday or Big Sunday game in the NFL and that sort of thing, and they've got live crosses from outside, and it really just builds that atmosphere that they're there, they're in the car park, they're in the tailgate party, they're all amongst it. And then they do the same in the wrestling as well. I'm a big wrestling tragic, so I always cross to that, but I love
hell yeah, brother.
So they're always doing a pre-show from outside the venue where everyone's excited and walking in, and it just builds that for me, that atmosphere. And the viewer feels like they're there to an extent.
Yep, I agree, man. And that, again, we see Dylan Cease in the U.S. just had like a $210 million contract he signed. Let's just hope he rides it out, retires, and gets right into disc golf and develops a bunch of venues.
Yeah.
Because Cactus Rock is supposed to be spectacular. We're going to see it at the end of the year on the Jomez Tour, I believe. Olympus obviously is a gorgeous property, but I think, again, we still have a lot more to go. So it's rare to have a Maple Hill that's just been built and it's just been there for however long it has. We need to build new Maple Hills, and that's especially with the modern game being the way it is, and spectators and media, it's going to be pretty big undertaking. So that's kind of my thought for the future.
Boys, any more thoughts from you?
I was just going to echo the like actual production infrastructure. Like, I guess working with our live guys, they're just out of a caravan in a front yard. Like there's this level of kind of faux professionalism where the product that's coming out of, like you said before, the product that's coming out of these like setups is incredible. And I think that it's going to be time where those setups that enable that product become better to make it more consistent, and with consistency comes the ability to elevate in certain areas. But in developing new kind of innovation on top of something that is already so stretched, it begins to look a lot more like there will be an inflection point and suddenly everything falls away. So I think, yeah, consistency is.
I think you're right. And sorry to I was excited about your answer because I was talking about the camera guys before. We could use a lot more camera people, but it's very expensive to do so. And we'd love to have more stationary cams. We'd love to have less guys sprinting to get into position because then we get better angles. The other thing we're talking about camera people, and AJ Risley has been a big advocate for this, is building out infrastructure to where the players and the media all know where they're supposed to go and where they're not allowed to go. So we saw that famous ace this year with Isaac at the Estonian Disc Golf Champion or the European Disc Golf Festival. Ricky almost blocked the ace because he leaned in front of the camera and the focus got taken away from the shot. And there's no like feathered off zone that the players can't go. There's a lot of little things that we need to start doing because we play in tight quarters. We need to prioritize these sight lines because we can't have shots like that get blocked off. Or like the big one is players will, they'll throw the final shot. And while that final shot's in the air, all the players will walk. They'll just start walking with their lies. Especially, and yeah, you've seen it filming. So there's all these little rules that personally I think need to get put into place, and the players just need to accept it. And again, that comes with venue development as well. We need to start building stuff out that feels natural, and the players will naturally go sit on this bench over here, and the cameras will set up here. So yeah, good point, Kyle. Sorry to kind of hijack it, but I totally agree.
No, I like it. I like that it's brought that up too, Brian. I think a problem I've found with I'm the catch cam for our live stuff generally, and the thing I'll find is I try and follow the shot, watch it settle, give a bit of context, but the next player's already up on the tee pad. Well, why is Nash pointing at me? I want to throw, and I'll go back and edit for post-production, and you'll see that player's been there the whole time that disc's been in the air. So it's an adjustment because a lot of players that aren't used to being covered will use that, I guess, as a mental thing. They'll try and rush the play and all of that. So yeah, it's something that deserves some thought, I think, because definitely it's the way it works in other sports. It's AFL in Australia, Aussie rules football, there's a little light that blinks in the stands, and the umpire doesn't bounce the ball up to start play again until the ads have come back, and the players are just standing around. When you're at the game watching it, they're just standing around. But years gone by, they just would have gone, rushed through, and kept that momentum going. So yeah, interesting point, Kyle. I know you do have to go now, but we're going to barrel on because Maddie's got something very special. Kyle, any final thoughts?
I just wanted to say thanks so much for your time, Brian. Really love chatting to you, and it's always good to geek out about some disc golf. So
you guys got to get me out to Australia, man. I've never been. I dream of going out there. So let's try to make something happen.
Maddie will make sure of it.
Yeah. I got a spare room.
Let's make a bake sale happen or something. We'll sell some brownies, some baked goods to get me out there.
I'll leave you in the safe hands of the boys.
Yeah, that might come up in the next little bit, Brian. Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. So I guess segueing now to sort of like let's talk about Kyle. No, I'm kidding.
Ooh. Hate that guy.
I want to talk about your sort of creative work. I guess you've dabbled in various sort of formats of podcasts over the years. One I listened to was, and I can never, the Flight Diary. I think it was Flight Diary.
My first one, my first podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was fascinating for me getting into the game post-COVID as I did, just listening to all these stories of history, and you see these guys that maybe aren't at the top anymore that you've spoken to, and they have this 20-year history in the game. Which I found really great long-form interviews and informed a lot of what I've tried to do over the years with Parked. But what draws you to those what drew you initially to those long-form conversations, and what sort of, I guess, drew you into that idea?
It was a desire to maybe feel seen myself, because I told you maybe like 2% of the detail of that real like journey to being on tour. It was such a rich period of my life, and I put so much time and sacrificed so much to alter the course of my life to try to do this. And I knew that there were other people that were doing the same thing as me. Like, not everybody is like a Nepo baby with like a trust fund that could just go out there. Frankly, I see a lot of people joke about that online. There's not that many people that are just like wealthy out there. Most people are very poor, and they're doing this because they love it. But I wanted to hear those stories from people, and I wanted to connect with people based on that, because we all have that in common. Like, everybody has different political beliefs, but at the end of the day, we all made a huge sacrifice to do something that we cared about. And I wanted to hear those stories. So that's how it started. It started out actually, me and Yuli wanted to do a podcast, but then he tore his ACL, and we kind of altered the course. He went home, and I was like, all right, well, we're 2 episodes in. If you go to the very first 2 episodes of that podcast in Spotify, you'll find the me and Yuli episodes were the first 2.
Yeah, right.
But then I interviewed Jordan Castro, I think, was my first one, because he lost 200 something pounds. He's out there on tour grinding, sub 1,000 rated. He was like 1020, 1030 when I interviewed him. And there's all these fascinating people that really, over the course of the show, taught me a lot of life lessons. It kind of changed my entire perspective on being a person. Like, people that didn't see disc golf and touring as romantically as I saw it. And it kind of was like a, what? How could you not feel this way about that? But their upbringing, they were always taught to follow their passion. Whereas for me, it was like, no, you do the structured thing. So this was like this big dramatic thing for me. So it was really cool to just hear the different perspectives from people. I'm actually working on a book right now. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but it's like reflecting on all those life lessons I've learned. I think I did like 40 plus of those interviews, and I'm still trying to do them, but not as often.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I've listened to quite a few of them, being pretty early into the game. I guess I listened to the ones that sort of interested me, the players that I'd seen on coverage. Are there any episodes, guest stories particularly, that stayed with you?
Oh, yeah.
Really stuck.
Yes. Yes. And again, that's what this whole book is about, is me sitting and reflecting on these really like weirdly fascinating, ambitious, entrepreneurial hobos, essentially. Like, and they're just quirky, fascinating people across the board, no matter who they are. The ones that stick out the most was Yuli. When I interviewed him back on the show after he left the tour, our show changed. I started interviewing. I wanted to have him on, and his story of doing what he did to get on tour is absurd. Like, if you haven't heard that one, it was one of the earlier ones I did. I can't even go into it. There's so many details of him just doing the most outlandish stuff to just scrap by and make it happen. It still doesn't make sense how he did it. I mean, he was like fishing discs out of the disgusting pond at Fountain Hills, selling them for like $1 a disc at Spinners on the Green. And he had like $750, and he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. And he just like went out there and did it. He was like playing poker to like make money. He's just wild character. And the life lesson I learned from him is that you don't have to always overplan and optimize an idea. Just bulldoze your way through. If you have an idea that you think is good, just start, and you'll beat 99% of people out there. And I admire him so much for what he's done in his career to just make things happen and then figure it out later. The other one that really stands out is Paul Macbeth. I interviewed him in Hannah's closet in his house. And we set up, he gave me 3 hours, and this is before we were friends. He wanted to tell his story. He gave me 3 full hours in the closet, and he told me things about his career that he had never told anybody else anywhere. He told me stuff about the Prodigy deal that was not public. Told me so many just fascinating things about how he started touring, and it gave me so much more appreciation for him. This is his 18th professional season, and he was touring with like 3 other guys in a Ford Mustang one year, and the wheel fell off on the highway. And like, he's humble because he slept on floors for so long to get to where he is. He created the landscape and the economy of the game that people benefit from now. So, yeah, that to me, that 2-part episode with Paul kind of takes the cake for me, for sure.
Yeah, wow. I think I remember elements of that. I've definitely listened to it at some point. And yeah, I guess I was struck by the personal nature of someone like Paul, who, like you say, is pretty humble, quiet from what we see. You know,
He is.
man of very few words for what he's achieved and what he's done. I guess, boys, any questions about that?
Yeah, I've got one. I've always wondered, outside of the guys on the big contracts, you talk about like Yuli's hustle. Do you just have to be a hustler to survive on the Disc Golf Pro Tour as someone who's not always finishing top 20, not on $1 million deal with Discraft or Innovar? Like, is it just a lot of selling discs, content? Like, Yuli seems like he's got his finger in 10 different pies to make it his ends meet. Yeah. Is that just the nature of the beast?
Yeah, that's the spirit of the touring professional disc golfer. Like we watched Ezra document his entire journey living out of his Prius, eating beans out of an Instant Pot every day. I remember seeing him walk up to a gazebo in a park and plug his Instant Pot in, and that's where he ate his lunch that day, and because he documented it, his fans followed him all the way to where he is now. So when he got that win, his content blew up because everybody was there with him from the very beginning. And personally, that's what I think it takes to be a professional player, especially if you're not the best when you start. You have to tell your story right away. You have to tell people why they should care about you and tell them where you come from, because everyone has a story. Everyone who chooses to be a professional Frisbee thrower is a unique character that has a life lesson to teach other people, whether they know it or not. And if you don't do that, you lose the I know that guy effect that Ezra has gotten to benefit off of in his career, because he showed everything from the very beginning. And that's what I did. I mean, I wasn't on his level. I wasn't doing YouTube, but I started blogging, which is funny to like think about the times now. But I wrote a blog when I started. And for some reason, man, I had so many people emailing me like, hey, oh my God, your blog post was so good and it resonated with me. And, oh, I have a spot here in this state. If you ever need to stop through, you have a place to stay. And frankly, I took a couple of those people up on those offers. And it helped me along in my first season. So, yeah, that's what I think. You have to be entrepreneurial. I think for a time when the $1 million contract happened and people were making those big contracts, a lot of people stopped that. And a lot of players were like, okay, well, if I play well enough, I will get that contract. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That completely discredits the cultural impact that guys like Paul and Rick and Simon have made in the sport of disc golf, and Paige and Kristen. Like, they have done so much for the game for so long. And you're not going to get the contract until you have that type of weight. So I think people are starting to realize those $1 million contracts are not coming anymore. And they won't be coming for a long time. My personal opinion is that they were marketing that paid off big time. And now ROI is way bigger of a deal when it comes to sponsorship. So players are kind of restructuring their priorities again. And yeah, that's just how it's going to be.
Sorry, ROI, what's that?
Return on investment.
Yeah.
Corporate lingo, hey?
It's a French word.
ROI.
Jace, anything on that?
No, once again, I'm just sort of taking all that in. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. And I love the bit about that, that you've all disc golfers have got a story. We have a saying, or Maddie and I have a reaction when we find someone new in the game and we learn a little bit about them and that sort of thing. And we're often sort of eyebrows raised when you do find things out about people. And we have the same saying. We look at each other and say, well, they're just disc golfers, aren't they? We are a rare breed.
Exactly. Calm down. You are a Frisbee thrower. Yeah. Yep.
I guess, I guess that is how most people are going to characterize you that do know you, Brian. But I want to talk about life outside the commentary booth and life off the course very briefly for you. What is it's off season for you now? What does life off camera look like for you these days?
Well, this offseason is very strange because my house flooded at the Tour Championship. So I was in Virginia first night, woke up the next morning to my wife screaming, crying on the phone. Our house was underwater, and I was the guy that had to sign off on the paperwork for insurance and whatnot. So I had to drive back home 4.5 hours. And we've been out of our house ever since. Actually, there's a guy working on our kitchen or our entire first floor right now. It's been 2 months, and we've lived in an Airbnb since then. So that it's been a little chaotic in that regard, but being here in Charlotte in the wintertime is just spectacular. I mean, it's lightly chilly. I can wear a light jacket and play disc golf the entire year, teaching lessons. And then I'm still, again, I'm full time. So I'm in a lot of meetings, planning meetings, stuff with Jomez, stuff with DGN, but I also have my own goals and projects because I can work on commentary stuff in this off season. I am ready to help elevate the standard for everybody. I'm building out some preparation guidelines and how to prep. You know, say one day we get Kristen to come commentate a tournament. I would love to give her a document and a database of information that she can go, oh yeah, this is easy to access. And here are the things that they expect of me to know. Here are some things that they would like me to know, but they're not necessary. I'm building out all these things, and I also am working on gathering a lot of just core information from touring professionals because it's mind-boggling the lack of info that's out there. Like, I don't know the age of some of these players. Actually, a lot of these players, I have to really dig for like birthday posts on social media, and I have to hope that somebody writes how old they are sometimes. So this is basic information that we don't know yet, and it's so funny. That's how far behind disc golf is, but there's not articles and Wikipedia pages for all these people. So I'm building out big surveys to send out and have people tell their stories. That's easier to access because prep is very difficult in disc golf commentary when you do it a lot. When you do it every weekend, it's like, how can I find something new to go off of? So yeah, a lot of little things like that to build stuff for me, but also build stuff for my coworkers as well.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing these days. Yeah, life's good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw you, I think, the other day live on Instagram, just vamping on a C chord and talking to people. Yeah. Is that something you do? Play a bit of music or any other interests outside of that? Yeah.
I play the banjo. I play the guitar. I just noodle around on it. I've never been like in bands or anything like that, but I've always played. Yeah, I mean, man, I really do love disc golf. That's what I do. I play video games a little bit, but a lot of times I'm cooking, spending time with my wife, who's a Pilates teacher here in Charlotte. But yeah, a lot of it is just disc golf. It's just, I love it so much. And I really am excited to continue carrying the torch and innovating. And that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, even if I'm not working. So I'm teaching it, or I'm playing it, or I'm practicing. Yeah, I'm just a nerd. that's just what I do. Yeah.
Well, you're in good company. I guess that database you're talking about is fascinating to me because we spend a lot of time going back through people's Instagram and going, all right, well, he graduated high school in 2018, so he must be 24-ish. Yeah. So yeah, incredibly, it's probably a good idea. We can steal.
Well, I'll let you guys know when we get it. When I get the big database, I'll let you guys know.
That'd be fantastic. Matty, now, Brian, I didn't warn you about this, but every guest we have on, Matty does a little segment called the Spit Out, which is a very 5 or 6 rapid fire questions. They could be about anything. I don't know what he's prepared today. But Matty, I'll hand it over to you for the
We're always a little nervous.
Yeah, we are.
Let's go. I'm ready. Nothing surprises me. Let's go.
Kept it pretty tame given the scale of this conversation relative to who we're normally interviewing.
I'm ready.
So yeah, just to sort of extend on Ash asking you about life outside of disc golf. This is just a little personal prying, I guess, to get to know you a little better outside of the disc golf context. So they don't have to be overly extensive answers, just little nuggets, whatever comes to mind. So the first one I've got for you, Brian, is what is your favorite genre of film?
Favorite genre of film? I would say like fantasy. I think the Lord of the Rings trilogy is like my favorite, like of all time, and anything kind of along the lines of that really tickles my fancy.
That's something you and Jace could have a lengthy discussion about Lord of the Rings.
Done deal.
It would be one-sided.
I think during our last live coverage, you might have learnt who Frodo Baggins was, Jace.
Nah, not yet.
Oh God.
I think what was the hole at Nationals? Shelob's Lair, I think.
Yeah.
Maddie spent 4 days trying to explain to
Nice.
Jason what that was. Yeah.
Big,
That's funny.
ugly, giant spider.
I'm not a fantasy guy. Yeah, I like wrestling.
Wrestling is fantasy. It's all
That's what I
fantasy.
meant.
That's all. I think that's the same as Lord of the Rings. Same thing.
Yeah.
They're
It
all the
pretty
same.
much is.
It's the
Gandalf
greatest.
should be in wrestling. There should be a wizard character, frankly.
It should be.
Yeah. I guess the closest we would have had was probably what? The Undertaker?
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, second question. I see you sipping on your drink there. What is your preferred fast food when you're out on tour?
It's Chipotle, because it's the healthiest and easiest to get fast food, and that's what all the Finns go nuts for Chipotle. They think it's like their favorite food, but that's kind of what I go to. But if I'm treating myself to fast food, it's probably like chicken tenders, like a Chick-fil-A or a Cane's. But if we're going to spread out a little bit, Waffle House is like top tier. That is like the slice of Americana that I tell every international person to experience at least one time.
Waffle House, is that like a similar setup to like a Denny's or an IHOP?
It's more like the classic diner.
Yeah.
And the food is a lot better than like IHOP and Denny's. That's for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it has a reputation of being really dirty, and like it's open 24/7, so everyone has a story of like a fight breaking out in their Waffle House. And there's a thing in the United States called the Waffle House Index, and it goes to show how severe certain storms are. So if Waffle House never closes, and if a Waffle House does close, then people start to take the weather seriously. So that's I am passionate about Waffle House. So yeah, go on.
What I got to ask real quick. Sorry, Maddie, but like for us, we hear about Chipotle and Chick-fil-A all the time. What is it? Because we can't get them over here, and Chick-fil-A people are obsessed with it. Chipotle people are obsessed with it.
Chick-fil-A is just like a like battered, like fried chicken sandwich place. You'll go there, you'll get a chicken sandwich, comes with pickles, tomato, onion, and they have this sauce called Chick-fil-A sauce. They got a bunch of different sauces, and that's about it. It's a chicken restaurant, and their commercial, their marketing campaign is a cow running around town vandalizing towns, telling them to eat more chicken, essentially. Pretty funny. But very, very good food. And the employees are forced to say "my pleasure" anytime you say thank you to them. And it's very funny. My brother actually got fired for not saying "my pleasure." He's like, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. But then Chipotle is just simple. You walk up, you get a bowl or you get a burrito, and then it's just Mexican food. It's like chicken, steak, guacamole, salsa, and rice and beans. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. I thought we got some substitutes at least for that. Maybe no one says "my pleasure" to us at KFC, I guess, but you know.
No, it's not their because it's not their pleasure. They do not feel pleasure giving you that food.
All right. Next one here, Brian. What was your first ever job?
My first ever job, I was a counselor in training at a summer camp, but I think at the same time I worked at a bowling alley and I did birthday parties. I was like 14 or 13. My first paycheck was like $6 or something like that. It was like I worked one birthday party for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, and I got paid $6.
That sounds like American capitalism to me.
Yep. And the minimum wage is not much higher than that, even to this day. Anyway, let's move on from politics.
All right. Well, this segues nicely into my next one. So I've heard about this perfect game that you had at the age of 13. Did that do anything to elevate your social status at school, or maybe land you your first ever date?
No, because I was 13. So absolutely no dates. I didn't even think about women until maybe 14, 15. I was like, Yeah, I was a really awkward, like, young teenager. I went through puberty really rough. I had acne all over my face, my arms, my legs. I was very chubby because I hadn't grown yet. I grew like 6 inches the next year. So bowling was just a love of mine. My whole family did it. We had tons of friends at the bowling alley. We knew all the workers. That's how I got the job there. And I joke about it, but sports have never made me cool one time. I don't know where this comes from, but it's all the sports that I've chosen have never made me cool. So I separate that. I got to be funny for about a month before they recognize me and want to court me in that way. But no, still a big accomplishment. I'm still pretty blown away that it even happened. I mean,
so you've
frankly,
never had another perfect game.
I've never had one, because after that, actually, I learned a big lesson that I carry on into my coaching in disc golf now. I got all these coaches wanting to teach me after I bowled the perfect game. And obviously my parents were like, oh, he's going to get a coach now, because they thought I was talented. And I just got coached to death. And I'll never forget, I had just bowled a 300 game, and this coach was trying to completely change my swing and not acknowledge one thing that I did well. And I was like, why do I have to do that? It never answered that question for me as a 13-year-old. I never thought about bowling in a technical way. Just like a lot of disc golfers don't think about it in a technical way. So, yeah, that's what happened. And I quit very shortly after, and I bowl for fun now, but yeah, it burnt me out pretty bad.
Wow. Okay. And you mentioned your musical hobbies before. I'd just like to know, what is your least favorite song of all time? Like one song that you'd just be happy to never, ever hear again.
There was a week straight where my wife, who generally has great music taste, my wife loved the song WAP from Cardi B. and we all know that song. And you know what? It's funny the first couple times because it's so provocative. But I heard it for a week straight, and this is on tour. So we're driving 40, 50,000 miles a year. I heard it way too many times, and I wanted to jump out of the car while it was still running. But overall, great song. Got played too much.
Yeah, that kind of content's a little too salacious for our little channel, but that's the end of the spit out. Thanks, Brian. It's good to get to know you on a little deeper of a level.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. This has been great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we usually do wrap up with the spit out, but I did want to ask one more question to tie everything together if I can. Brian, if you could make one change that would meaningfully elevate disc golf over the next 5 years, what would it be?
Wow. Realistic 5-year change. Man. That's tough, because do you want it to be a realistic change, or do you want it to be like a dream?
Let's say magic wand. Let's say magic wand change. Yeah.
Magic wand change is much easier. I'd probably have to think a lot more about the other one. It goes along with what I said. We need more Maple Hills. We need our municipalities in the States to see disc golf the same way that Finland sees disc golf, where they go, oh my gosh, this sport brings in lots of tourism dollars. Here is a beautiful plot of land for you guys to build a venue, not just a disc golf course, but a property. And we need more of that. I still believe that's like the highest priority. And if I could wave my hand, I would wave my wand in front of the face of the political people across the country and make them fall in love with disc golf. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think we've got a similar situation here in Australia, which we'll have to have you on another time, perhaps during the Australian season, to talk about that and talk about what we can do for Australian disc golf. But like you said earlier, we'd love to get you out here. We'd love to find a way, whether it's as a player, as a commentator, or just to hang out and come to our nationals and a couple of our big tournaments and see what it's all about. So I don't know how we do that. That's my magic wand. That's my magic wand solution for Australian disc golf, but we'll see how we go.
Bake sale, baby. I'm telling you. Bake some biscuits. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think that's probably all we've got time for today. I just wanted to say, from bottom of my heart, Brian, thank you. I know every time I throw a perfect flip up that turns a little and then settles nicely flat, I hear your voice in my head saying, "There's no magic like the flight of a disc," which
That's right.
I've heard you say a million times, and every time your voice is in my head when I hear that. So it's been wonderful and enlightening, and just quite surreal to speak to you today. Jace, Maddie, anything in closing?
No, not really, other than just to say, thank you very much. And if it's okay with you, on all future commentary now, I'm going to name drop you that I was having a conversation with you once upon a time. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Say it as many times as you want.
We may misquote you for the story, so just let you know.
Well, hey, have me back on, man. I whenever you guys need to fill a spot, let me know. I'll try to jump in.
We'll probably take you up on that.
Yep.
Done deal. I love riffing. Love riffing.
Yeah. Well, one idea we've had is to get Esapeka on to just commentate us playing a practice round somewhere, just and see how he goes. So maybe we could get the two of you just commentate.
Done deal. I'm in.
Commentating us for a video or something. That'd be fun. But yeah, to have your voice on our coverage would be quite special. I think so. We'll probably take you up on that at some point.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Brian, thank you so much. We will speak to you again, and all the best for the off season. And can't wait to hear your voice in the regular season.
Yep. Can't wait. Cannot wait. Happy holidays, guys.
Thanks. You
Thank
too,
you.
Brian.
You too, mate.
Bye.
See you, mate.